An update now on a very bizarre story. A judge ordering the train engineer accused of running a locomotive at full speed toward the USNS Mercy hospital ship, ordering that man to be held without bond. Eduardo Moreno charged with a federal count of train wrecking, which carries a criminal sentence of up to 20 years. Investigators say he intentionally derailed and crashed the train near the Mercy in the port of LA. Prosecutors say Moreno told them he was suspicious of the Mercy and believed it had an alternate purpose related to COVID-19.
Well, given that incident, should we be worried right now about domestic terrorism?
Joining us live via Skype is retired Marine Corps Intelligence Officer Hal Kempfer with Global Risk Intelligence and Planning. You know, Hal, thanks again for joining us. With this surge in purchases of gun stores, this train attack on the hospital ship Mercy in LA, is there a greater threat at this point for violent extremism or domestic terrorism?
Mark, anytime there's a perceived breakdown in government authority or basically our governmental social system, you will find extremists and violent extremists try to take advantage of it. One thing today that is very true that we hadn't seen in some of the historic pandemics is the internet. And there is so much stuff online, so much conspiracy stuff, international, national, the idea that the government's going to impose martial law or the military is going to come and take over, that it just fuels this sort of extremist thinking. And you see things like the train attack, which probably does meet the legal litmus test for terrorism, or certainly it's a violent extremist move. But also other things, right-wing groups have talked about basically taking COVID-infected people and spitting on doorknobs in order to spread the disease. There's just a lot of different plots out there.
Well, the LA Times did a big story yesterday on the absence of coordination and leadership at the state and federal levels in terms of coordinating critical resource allocations here in California, especially to hospitals. What does that indicate, Hal, from an emergency management perspective?
Michelle, I think what it means is we're going to have to get a lot more serious about preparedness. I think we need to do a much better job of training and preparing some of our senior leadership, particularly at the political level. Great Britain does a great job of training elected politicians on how to basically make decisions in an emergency situation. We don't do that. And what you'll find is a lot of times some of the senior leadership, they're kind of caught off guard. I can tell you firsthand experience, they usually don't show up to the big exercises, or if they do, they walk through, they say a few words, they leave. But when the event happens, they need to understand the dynamics of how this works. Requests for assistance, providing that in a timely, effective manner is a core function. And that LA Times article is very disturbing because it says at the state and federal level, it's just not happening like it should.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of the luck of the draw whether we get real leaders in these leadership positions. And speaking of that, Hal, we're going to have to leave it there. LA Mayor Eric Garcetti is at the podium now. Thank you for talking to us.